We're here with Katie Compton's Trek Boone. To introduce the bike, I have the one and only Katie Compton. Katie, thank you.
Thanks for having me. So yeah, this is my Trek Boone. I love this bike. I kind of helped with the geometry of it. But mainly, I love the fact that it's got little details like my Rottweiler face, because I love Rottweilers. The stripes from national championships, and then 15 stars for kind of celebrate 15 national championships. So just kind of made it unique to me.
Cool. We can't wait to dig into it. Thank you so much for letting us have this opportunity.
Thanks.
So one better than me go through this Trek Boone, I asked Katie's husband, Mark Legg Compton, to come in and tell us all about this machine because, well, there's a lot of small bits on it and I don't want to mess it up. Mark, thank you so much for coming in and showing us this bike. This is your pride and joy.
It is. I put a lot of hours into this. I actually obsess about this stuff in the winter, the summer, the spring, the fall. I just think about all the small details I can just play around with and just kind of make it really uniquely Katie's.
Mark, can you tell us a little bit about the frame set?
Yeah, Katie's frame is a 52 centimeter Trek Boone, so the carbon Boone. It has the ISO-speed decoupler in the rear and then also on the front, and it really helps dampen those vibrations. Katie was a big developer of the geometry. In fact, Trek would build her aluminum prototypes that she would race in World Cups.
I remember.
These frames are actually developed at World Cups, so that everybody at home can then go ride a bike that Katie was actually developed, which is pretty unique in the industry.
So walk us through this bike. Let's start, why don't you pick? Where would you like to start with this? Because there must be something that is your favorite part of this machine.
You know, I have a lot of favorites. I'm gonna start with the latest thing I've been playing around with. I mountain biked in the 90s, and purple parts was a really big fascination for a lot of people, and I'm kind of doing a 80s, 90s throwback to purple parts. So I've got some purple titanium bolts on the stem here, also down on the front derailleur, and also really tightly tucked away there. I've got a couple of purple titanium bolts there just for a bit of 80s, 90s throwback.
That is super cool. The anodized bolts definitely brings me back to my mountain bike days when I got started here. And what else? You guys have some really cool stuff here on the top cap is a looks like a custom top cap, but you're telling me a jeweler is a sponsor.
Yeah, we have this really amazing jeweler from Delaware, Ben Anamoni's Jewelers, and he custom made, I actually didn't know about this until a little bit later after Katie won her 15th national title, that he custom made this gold top cap with 15 gemstones in ruby, diamond, and emeralds. Sorry, sapphire, not emeralds. Yeah, it's really, really pretty.
That is incredible. So walk us through the group set. What are we using?
So we have Shimano Dura-Ace, not a sponsor. We actually personally buy all of this for ourselves, and that way it's all our product. But we have Shimano Dura-Ace pretty much throughout the bike, except for a couple of small areas where it's not Dura-Ace. One of those areas that's probably the biggest area is the Shimano RX derailleur, which is also a clutch derailleur. So that it prevents the chain from bouncing around on all those bouncy terrains, especially at Coxside. It's super bouncy there. And so that way the chain really stays hooked up and really decreases the opportunity for it to relieve itself off the chain rings.
Yeah.
So that's, really neat like that. And I also add some Enduro XT 15 derailleur pulleys. Enduro Bearings is our sponsor. They have been for a couple of years now, and they use this XT15, which is a ceramic bearing, but it uses a stainless steel bearing race, and that's what prevents it from kind of getting locked up and seized in these Belgian conditions, which will just brutalizes everything.
Love that. That's awesome. And so tell us about the typical gear ratios that we're using on this machine.
Yeah, so Katie uses kind of a slightly unique, something we've developed over the years through experience, and what works really great for her is that we use a 34 inside ring and a 42 outside ring. The 42 really being the big part of the racing gearing, is that way the front derailleur or the chainring's not too large, so when you're hitting those kind of steep ups, you're not really going down to like 30 RPMs trying to muscle over these gears. So she's able to utilize the 11 30 cassette in the back, and that way she's not really overstressing her legs on those steep ups.
Okay. Okay, and then you guys still opt for a 2x setup. Have you ever run a 1x setup? Is that a bike? Does she have a 1x bike?
We've experimented with it in the past. We just felt that, especially with the gearing jumps, because if you run a single ring, we found we had to run a wider spread in the back. And with those gearing jumps of 2 to 3, or actually greater, 3 to 4 teeth, we've found that with a 10 RPM or 9 to 10 RPM gearing change. So every time you shift gears, you're basically affecting the RPMs by about 9 to 11 RPMs, and it just overstresses her legs.
Okay, and let's talk about the Sandpaper and the different stuff that you have up on the shift.
Yeah, so Katie, especially when you're bouncing around in cyclocross, and especially in the winter months, you know, your hands are cold and numb, and then Katie kind of suffers from some numb hand issues. So I've added some Sandpaper up front here, so a real tactile feel. And then also I've added some Bondic just on the outside here, and that really allows you, especially with thick gloves, you can really feel the difference between the two levers. You can just kind of you really flick that lever really easy, and especially when your hands are numb and bouncing around, you can really find that shift lever. Okay,
so let's talk about the wheels that are on this bike. Moving down a little bit, you have Night wheels, and you've mounted them up with Challenge. Here we have the Limus. So tell us about what's going on with the wheel set.
Yeah, we have Night composite wheels. We've been with them for a couple of years. I really love this carbon, this wheel set. The carbon is actually Japanese carbon. It's Toray carbon, the same carbon fiber that's used in the Dreamliner. So it's really pretty unique, and it's UV heat treated, so you don't end up with those browning carbon rims that you just laid a whole bunch of money down for. In a couple of years it'll look kind of brown and crazy looking. So they're really, really beautiful looking, but also they're really compliant. The carbon seems to really absorb vibrations really well. So we've been really, really happy with them. That's mated with DT Swiss hubs. Certainly from a mechanics point of view, you can just pop open those DT hubs, overhaul them, put them back in again, and you're just good to go. I love working with them.
Race worthy, okay. And some other unique bits here is you have a shrink wrapped, and I believe it's custom because it has Katie's name on it. You've shrink wrapped the cables to keep everything clean. Super important in cyclocross. One thing that you told me also off camera is that there's not a single zip tie on this bike.
I'm not into zip ties. Zip ties is just kind of a cheap way to fasten things together, and I'm a little bit crazy about this stuff. I like bikes as functional art, and that way it just, when you get on the bike, you just feel inspired, you feel happy, you're looking down, it's like, man, I've got a pretty looking bike. No zip ties. So the couple of things I do here is I do heat shrink tubing for the Di2 shift cable, and also for the hydro cable, so they're all grouped together, and it's a little bit maybe aero looking. But I also have some custom printed Katie F'n Compton on there, because that way we know whose effing bike it is.
We don't want to miss that.
Too right. So yeah, it's just kind of one of those extra little customized pieces I've added. And then I've also sourced some 18-karat gold wire from Antimoni's Jewelers, because I'm a little mental about this. The stuff I obsess about during the summer, and like, how can I just kind of make this a little different? So I've used this as I drop the zip ties and I custom wire them. I used to tie and solder wheels back in the day, and I still love to do that, and this kind of is a throwback to tie and soldering wheels. I do that with the 18-karat gold wire.
That is phenomenal. So moving down, you've got Shimano XT pedals, I believe. Yes. Tell us about those.
Yeah, we've found that we've tried the XTR pedals, we've tried the XT pedals, and we just found over the years, especially with the mud and the sand, the XT pedals seem to be a little easier to engage when muddy. So we've been using them, and also we buy these things, and XT pedals are just a lot cheaper.
I love it.
Yeah,
okay.
It's great.
And you guys opt for 140 rotors front and rear?
Correct, yeah, 140 seems to be just fine for Katie's needs.
Okay.
And they seem to give just the right amount of modulation without over braking, so over slowing the bike, and then having to re-accelerate the bike. So we found the 140s seem to offer just that decent amount of modulation.
Okay, let's stay down there. How about the crank length size?
Katie runs a very unique crank length size. She runs a 175, which I'm sure all of you are going to think, what's going on there? That's a little bit long. This goes back to when she was racing tandems on the Paralympic team for the US team, and she just found with the 175 she could create more torque. And with cyclocross being such a high torque sport, you're constantly accelerating from a very slow speed to a high speed, she found that we could get on the pedals a little better, and we actually did the data analysis using shorter cranks. We found a significant difference using the 175 cranks.
It's not one size fits all in cyclocross, is it? Perfection. So great. You guys are a heck of a team. And lastly, tell us about the tires that you're using. You guys have Challenge as your tire partner.
Yeah, we've been really lucky that we have, honestly, the tires that we want to run, and they happen to be our sponsor. Otherwise, we'd just go buy them. Yeah. Challenge, you may don't listen to that. But we love these tires. They have such a great variety of tire tread options. They have the cotton casing that just really absorbs and so cush ride. And Katie loves the feel. Right now, we have the Limus tire mounted up right now, the mud tire, which is really great in those super muddy conditions. But I think Katie's favorite tire is actually the baby Limus. It seems to offer an amazing amount of traction. And you know, Katie loves to rail those corners, and she really leans on those baby Limus, and she just loves how they hook up. Yeah.
All right, Mark, it wouldn't be a proper GCN Pro bike without a hub check, rear hub check. So throw it up on your neck, give it a proper spin, and let's hear it. Sounds pretty good. I want to thank you so much for walking us through this. It is a very special bike. It's a very special team that you guys have, and I wish you good luck in the upcoming events.
Thank you, really appreciate it.
If you guys liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, leave a comment below, let us know what you think, and if you want to see other bikes, check them out over here, and if you want to subscribe to GCN, please click right there.